TruthSeekah and or its affiliates are not responsible for any strange phenomena that may occur during or after listening to this podcast, which may include the following: heightened senses of awareness, psychic abilities, UFO sightings, alien contact, time loss, out-of-body experiences, ringing in the ears, ESP, lucid dreaming, increased synchronicities, astral projection, telepathy, stronger intuition, levitation, miraculous healings, and or remote viewing. Please be advised to listen at your own discretion.
Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? To a place to walk on troubled seas, faith to stand when I don't believe. I just wanna be with you. Won't you come and take me away? I just wanna be with you. Won't you come?
You are now locked into the TruthSeekah Podcast.
Gargoyles, psychics, everything's ungodly. Dark savage.
Streaming live at TruthSeekah.com.
She's not a Christian.
Give it up, y'all.
Your portal to the paranormal, esoteric, and all things spiritual.
She's tampering in dark savage stuff.
And now, your host, TruthSeekah.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? I'm your host, TruthSeekah. This is the TruthSeekah Podcast. I'm excited and delighted to be with you guys again to get into some more discussion about fulfilling our life purpose, finding our calling in life, and how that we can bring it into manifestation. That's what we're going to be focusing on today. Like I said, every time I have a guest on here from many different walks of life, I like it to be something tangible that we can actually apply to our lives, whether it's talking about spirituality, not as far as conspiracy theories or just belief systems that, you know, are just theories or can't be proven, but something tangible. So everybody that I have on here, whether we're talking about some really far out esoteric mysticism stuff, occultic stuff, I would like it to be something that we can apply to our life to achieve our goals and our dreams, to go into the spirit realm, pull the dreams and visions out, and to make them manifest. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Following your life's path, finding it, and how to achieve it. And there's practical things that you can do to make this stuff happen. I think I'm a living example. Everything that I'm doing right now, it's been calculated. My every move has been a calculated step. Doing something today, planting the seed today that I wanted to manifest tomorrow. You have to water it. You have to plant the seed. You got to till up the hard ground sometimes. All of this stuff to create the life that you want for yourself. And so I talk to friends all the time, and they want to do what I'm doing and stuff, and they want to go full time, and they have these dreams and stuff, but they're not doing anything today. Like they just have this fantasy, and they don't put their hands to the plow. They've already looked back. So that doesn't work out. You have to do something. So we're going to be talking about that a little bit today. It's going to be a great episode. I'm excited about this talk. I want to say a quick thank you to everybody supporting my work, as always, through Patreon. This show is not does not exist without the help of the patrons. So I want to give a quick shout out to some people who have just joined the patron community here within the last week. We got a couple names I want to go ahead and give shouts out to. Valerie Maroquin. I want to give a shout out to Monica. Man, some of these names, man, it's so crazy, man. I can't, I do the worst job pronouncing some of these names. Carlos, God&nbsp, I think. Okay, and this next one, I mean, Dangus Kervias. It's crazy, man. What's cool is that there's people who are supporting all over the world that I can't even pronounce some of these names, man. This is insane that people are listening to this podcast and they're finding something that they're benefiting from these conversations. I'm blown away. I really am. Thank you guys for supporting my work. If you want to support what I'm doing, head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. There you get access to a bunch of podcasts that aren't available. They're private. There is my full discography of music, which is like 10 plus albums. All the new music that I'm working on is uploaded straight to Patreon before it's available to the general public. So you can support my work by hitting there. You guys know that this podcast is free to consume. It's free to listen to, but it's not free to create. So my heart just says a huge thank you and gratitude to everybody supporting my work. Thank you guys so much. Thank you to Christy Folks, who's listening now in the chat. She just donated right off the back as soon as the podcast started. Thank you so much for that. So yeah, I'm excited about what's going on. I got a new album, new music, album release concert, everything. All that can be found out on the website, TruthSeekah.com. Also, if you support, you get access to the School of the Mystics. This is something that we're doing every Thursday night to kind of have a sense of community with the podcast, where it's just not you just show up and listen to the show. It's like this becomes tangible, and we have a community, and we're these discussions are carried out further extent in the School of the Mystics. And also, we have something that we started this past week, which was amazing. I was kind of nervous about it, but we started a course, and the course is a basic training for prophetic ministry. And this is about how to hear the voice of the Holy Spirit speaking to you in your lives. And we're going through this 8-week course, and we just started last week. Everything is recorded. So if you want to go back and listen, you weren't able to make that week, you can go back and access the archives on Patreon as well. I'm very excited about that. We kind of broke off into pairs after we did the course and the teaching. We broke off into pairs, and we practiced prophesying over one another, practice being able to hear the voice of the Spirit speaking about particular people who we were paired off with. And I was kind of nervous because it's a huge step. It's a huge leap of being able to access that intuition or what the Spirit is saying for someone. It's one thing to do it in the same room, in the same location, but then when it's over the phone or over the internet, and this is where everybody was joined together, it's a hurdle that you have to cross, but it was crossed very easily. And so I was a little nervous going in. I've done it. I've already crossed it. I've seen the power of intention and prayer and stuff like that of somebody across the world. And there's no such thing as space and time. So we did it. I was blown away. Everybody received something and was able to contribute. It was awesome. So Thursday nights at 7 p.m., School of the Mystics. Head on over to the website to get access to that. With that being said, huge thank you. Let's go ahead and jump into the show. I got an awesome conversation planned for you guys today. My guest, Raana Zia. Did I pronounce it right?
Yes, you did.
Raana, welcome to the show. I'm excited to speak with you.
I'm excited to speak with you too. Thank you for having me here.
So we're talking about manifestation, having these dreams and visions or these hopes and goals, and we don't know how to achieve them. They're just kind of like, we want to call them pipe dreams, or I wish I could have been this, or, maybe this dream has passed me up. I had these ideas and inspirations when I was a kid, but now they're gone. How do we recapture that dream? So there's some practical steps we can take, and it's not just in the physical realm. You actually bring in the spirituality behind it as well. You want to talk a little bit about your new book and where we can get started with this conversation?
Yeah. Let me give you a little bit of background to give you some context. So I do have a book out called Your Hidden Light, A Personal Guide to Creating Your Desired Life. It came out in November, but my background was never a writer. My background has all been in corporate finance. So I grew up from an immigrant family, Indian immigrant family in the United States, went to college and went into the profession of finance. So I've been in finance all my career, climbing the corporate ladder, and eventually reached the milestone of becoming a chief financial officer of a $1 billion retail company. Now, this happened to me in 2012. And when it did happen for me, it was everything I ever wanted in terms of my finance career. It was a job that moved me from California back to the New York area. It was the perfect position. And it was all happening a lot sooner than I thought it would happen. And back in 2012, there was an inner feeling within me that told me that I actually created this. And it came to me exactly how I wanted it because I created it. And in that moment, I thought to myself, oh, wow, if I can create this, then what else could I create? There's something else that I really feel like I need to be doing, and I need to figure out what that is. So this journey really started, I would say, my spiritual journey, my seeking journey, my truth seeking journey started for me about 6 years ago. And so while I was so grateful, I mean, I can't tell you how grateful I was for the opportunity, this new job, new life on the East Coast, there was a pulling or calling at my heart. I didn't know what it was, but I was determined to figure out what it was. So I went down the path of reading a lot of self-help books, going on retreats, seminars. I was fortunate enough to have a personal coach, and I was really, really searching for my purpose. Now, at the same time, I'll be honest with you, I was looking to enhance my material life. I was saying, how can I get more, do more in this material world? And during this time of seeking, I was coming across profound pieces of wisdom that rang true for me. Things that were waking me up to my own personal power. Concepts like your truth, your thoughts create your reality. And as I was pulling, learning this information, I can look back at my own life and say, well, yeah, that's how I think I created this, or this is why I couldn't create this. Mm-hmm. And as I was learning, all this information, I started to feel this sense of, I need to pull this all together in one spot. I needed to take all of these different pieces of wisdom from different books and different places and put it together in one place where I could reference, that I could easily understand and I can go to. So I created the book that I wanted to read. I needed someone to just give me the truth, straight up, no fluff, tell me what I need to know. And so that was what was coming through me in terms of, as I was searching for what am I supposed to be doing or what am I going to do next, I had this creative urge to write that never existed to me at all. So I think my point in saying that is, when you're looking for your purpose, sometimes it comes to you completely unexpected. It's not what you expect to do. I was not a writer. I was an analytical person.
Yeah.
So I know I'm going a little bit long in the story, but, this process has been so interesting to me because when I was seeking and I was learning and I was curious, how does the world work? How am I able to manifest? I got steps that made sense, but I was also looking for, why did these steps work? Mm-hmm. Why am I able to do this? And so that pushed me into this realization that it's not just this physical world, right? Everything comes from the spiritual world. And I had to open myself up more to spirituality. And I realized that everything seen comes from the unseen. And so I put this all into this book, Your Hidden Light, A Personal Guide to Creating Your Desired Life. And it's 150 pages. It's a very easy read. And it literally is my journey of what I discovered, which was true for me, as to how I can consistently, consciously create what I want in my life that really lives in my heart. So that's been my journey.
Because everybody already is consciously creating, whether they're conscious of it or not. Like the thoughts and the things that they're entertaining and the things they're speaking over themselves, they're essentially creating it. And it's really about switching off what I call autopilot. I felt like I've been on autopilot for so long, just on default, just living life, and the choices were choices that maybe I was just living a life from choices that other people have made, not that I wanted to create, and ended up at jobs that I could find, just whoever would hire me, those type of things, when I had a vision and a passion within. And then sometimes, I guess, with life and going through the hustle and bustle and being on default for so long, you kind of lose your dream, or you lose that spark. And it's funny that you were saying that you almost essentially got a new vision, something totally new came. So we always hear about going back and recapturing the dream that you had when you was a kid. What did you always want to do? Go back and get that. But you said there were some new things that was added to you as well, which is really cool. One thing, there's a scripture I want to throw in here, because I tie everything back to the Bible. That's just how my mind works. You talked about how early on with the I guess success in wanting to make it was about, achieving things and kind of getting the material wealth and stuff like that. And that's what it is for like a lot of people. There's a scripture here in Psalm 37:4. This is a really good one. It says, delight yourself in the Lord and he will give you the desires of your heart. And it's really cool because like many times people quote that scripture and they think of the mansion, they think of the Rolls Royce or the dream job or whatever, and it's always these exoteric outer court things that we want for our flesh to feel good or things that we can add to us. But then like the more time we spend with God, with the divine presence and going into the spirit realm and living a spiritual life, we understand that our desires change. And it's not about what I can, like, he who dies with the most toys wins. It changes from that to like your desires to add to your life is peace and joy and sharing that with others and stuff. And all of that is part of the big plan. So it's essentially a lot of people, they want it for the money, but the money is only one aspect of it. It's like everything else comes with it when you have this life that is in pursuit of spiritual riches.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I was looking for the material aspect of it and I discovered something far greater, which was really, a deeper sense of the spiritual aspect and how it's all connected. And that's what made life so exciting for me, because when you open yourself up to the world is so much more than what we think it is, and that we are so much more empowered and so much more powerful than we think we are. And you start testing some of these practices in terms of, let me test my own personal power. Can I create my day? Can I create this moment, right? Can I create my life? And when you realize that you can, everything becomes so much more exciting and the world becomes a much more exciting place.
What is your religious background?
So my background is I grew up Muslim.
Okay.
Yeah. And my parents are amazing, actually. They immigrated here and they really assimilated us to this culture when we came. And while my entire family is Muslim, they are just wonderful, supportive parents, and very open-minded. And I think I've been very fortunate that in this journey where, I talk about different, a belief system that we are connected to this divine creative force. It is not necessarily the standard teaching of the religion. So that journey for me, was a little bit hard, knowing that, okay, I'm going to be pushing, some buttons here for a lot of people, not just of my religion, right? Right. For a lot of religions. But I felt it was really, really important to share. And it's not that the book preaches, because it doesn't. It just provides information to allow people to say, does this ring true for me or not? These are truths that ring true and do still ring true for myself. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to put it out there because it's authentic to who I am. Yeah. And I wanted to create a book, like I said, which was going to remind me every day how to stay on track, right? And if this could be of service and help to others, I love that. I love that because it's been so beneficial to me.
That's really cool because, like, just like what I mentioned at the beginning about having people on that are sharing things that works for them. Like whatever your story is, like what's working for you, let's talk about it and see if I can apply it to my life. And there's some things that are working for me and let's talk about it, have other guests on. And it's really cool. There's so many people who are listening. They're, doing the spiritual work and it's working for them. Like everybody's story is very similar because these principles, whether you want to call them religious or not, they're like universal laws that are mixed in with the religions as well, or lack of, for that matter, whether it's just spirituality in general. These universal principles that anyone can do, it's universal law. It's the law of sowing and reaping, seed time and harvest, all of this stuff like I was mentioning at the beginning. And it's so cool. And I like the fact that you put all these little things in one book that works for you. I remember having a Bible promise book, and it's just a little book I used to keep in my back pocket. And it had all of these different like situations or whatever. Like if you were depressed or you were struggling with money financially, you could pull out this little Bible promise book and it would go directly to these scriptures that had to deal with lack of provision or holding your peace or calamity or storms that are coming in your life and all of these things. And it's really cool to be able to go through and point out these things that work and that they're working and stuff. So that's really cool that you're bringing that to the table. What is some of the practical things that people can do that you talk about in the book? Like, is it visualization? Is it breathing? Is it meditation? What are some of like the key things that work for you that's kind of like foundational in this?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because foundational, one of the key practices that I do is meditation, because for me, the core of being able to consciously create positive things in your life is really about a discipline over yourself, right? It's self-discipline, and it starts with your thoughts, right? And to really discipline your thoughts, you have to become very aware of your thought patterns. And for me, the practice of meditation builds up a muscle, an internal mind muscle, yep, where I'm able to get to a neutral place, a neutral state in my mind, where I can clear out negative thoughts, not, diverge, all the time towards positive thoughts, but get to a clear mind space, a neutral mind space. And that takes practice. And that's a muscle that I needed to develop. Mm-hmm. Because if I want to consciously create positive things, I need to understand where my negative mind is coming in and attacking that, right? So for the book, I couldn't write the book until I had a belief that I was a writer. And it took 2 years to build that belief up, that I could actually write the book. Because intellectually, I can say, yes, I'm going to write a book. But when my body is feeling like it doesn't believe it, my mind doesn't believe it, I can't actually physically take the pen and write. So there is some internal, self-discipline and self-conditioning that one needs to do in order to achieve the goal that they set out for themselves. And for me, I had to take 2 years to actually build up that belief within myself. And meditation really helped me become aware of when negative thoughts would come in. When I would hear the thought, Raana, you're not a writer. What are people going to think about you?
Everybody, yeah. Everybody hears that stuff, man.
Right?
Yeah.
And how do you control that? That's self-discipline. And meditation is, it's such a highly recommended practice these days. I mean, it's becoming more and more commonplace. CEOs are meditating. You see it a lot now.
Basketball teams.
Yes, athletes, yep, right? Everybody is. And there's a reason, because it's powerful. So I would say that that's a real foundational practice to help us create that self-discipline. Like I say, if you want to lose weight or you want to a strong physical body, you go to the gym and you do that every single day. Meditation is the gym of your mind. And it's so powerful because if you condition your mind, then you can create your life.
Are you well versed in the Quran at all? Because I know you grew up with that. Are you well versed in that?
I won't say I'm well versed. I did read it, and I read it through actually in English. But I'm not, I'm not the go-to. Are there any scriptures or whatever that talk about like whether it's meditation or the blessings and stuff like that, about like God adding stuff to your life and some of those universal principles? Are they in there too? I'm not versed in it all, but when it comes to the Bible, I know it like the back of my hand, so I don't know those scriptures. Are they there? Because I know it's universal. I know the same principles apply. It is. It's absolutely universal, right? And that's what I always, as a young child, looked at every single religion and knew they were all the same, because at the core of Islam and at the core of every single religion, right? It is love, right? It's love. It's goodness. It's generosity. It's service. It's all of those things. And for me, those are the core. That's why I feel like, we are all one, because we all at the core believe the same things, right? We all want to be happy. We all want to be of service. We all want to be of value. Yep. So absolutely, it's within the religion and it's within the Quran.
let me ask you this. So what were some of the early things that you've seen versus, I know you said you felt that inner knowing of, I created this, and if I did, I can create more, and I can kind of play with this a little bit. Like, what were some of the early things that showed you that your thoughts affected your reality? What were some of the aha moments or the synchronicities and things like that?
Yeah.
You know, that actually come along with it. That just kind of, you know, I think early on there is some room to play, because it's this game that goes on, I guess, in your mind, essentially, that shows you that everything is connected, that something is responding to the thoughts and frequencies that you're putting out there. What were some of the early things, whether you want to call it miracles or just, you know, different manifestations that you saw?
Yeah, I'm going to first start with, you know, something that happened early in my life, I would say in high school, that taught me the negative aspect of jealousy. So in the book, I talk about the power of feelings and how there's a spectrum, right? There's from fear all the way to love. And they all vibrate at a different frequency. And the closer you get to the love vibration and feeling love, gratitude, the easier it is to create positive things in your life. But when you're stuck down in the negative energies, such as fear and jealousy, those things actually harm you unless you can change that energy, harness that energy, and focus it into something positive. So, you know, and believe me, I didn't really understand any of this for most of my life, okay? But when I was back in high school, there was, and I talk about this in the book, there was a girl who I wanted to be friends with. She lived in my neighborhood. And for some reason, I could tell that she really didn't want to be friends with me. And so anything good that ever happened to her, right? From, you know, boyfriends to whatever you care about in high school, every time something good happened to her, I would feel a sense of jealousy, right? She doesn't deserve that. I do.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
And it was a strong, uncomfortable feeling within my body. And there was a moment in time where I had created a vision in my head of something that I wanted to happen for myself. And it was very clear of what it was. And it was very specific, right? At a specific place in, you know, it was very clear. And I remember being in school, in the classroom, and watching my vision for myself happen exactly the way I dreamed it up to her. And I thought, oh my God, this can't be happening. This is exactly what was in my mental picture. But this is what I wanted for myself, and it just happened to her. So for me, in that moment, I thought, okay, there's something strange happening here. There's something, you know, almost metaphysical that created that. And I will never forget that moment, because that really started to shift the way that I thought about, you know, this feeling of jealousy. I think I started to realize this is so detrimental to my own self. Nobody told me this, but I felt it in that moment. And so from then on, I actually decided to test for myself, what happens if something good happens to somebody else? And the moment I feel jealousy, I force myself to be happy for them. Even if I don't feel it initially, if I tell them, I'm happy for you, if I speak the words, then I'll start to believe it. And I started to consciously, from then on, anything that I wanted that somebody else received, I would go up to them, be happy for them. And it became a practice, and then it became real for me. And then I was genuinely happy. And as I started to do that and I shifted the energy, good things started to happen to me. And I knew, and I didn't really know the law of attraction or anything back then, but I knew that energetically, that by putting out love, gratitude, these good feelings instead of bad feelings, that I would receive something, I would receive the benefit of that. So that was something early on.
Yeah, that's big. That's really big. And I think I would think that the majority, I mean, that's something that everybody deals with. And that's something that you can realize. It's about knowing thyself, right? That's one of the, the key principles in having a spiritual practice is to know the things that make you tick and being able to discern the feelings and emotions. And in the scriptures, it talks about like taking captive every thought that exalts itself against the knowledge of God. So these beautiful thoughts, the knowledge of God, the thoughts that he has for you is beautiful. You can apply it to your life. It helps your well-being. So anything that's like contrary to this beauty, you got to take it captive and you have to cast it out. So these thoughts that come through of jealousy, of envy, of like vengeance, or like wishing harm upon someone or something, but just the whole jealousy thing, like you're saying, you that's a feeling that comes with that thought pattern, which is a thought you think, but it comes with a feeling and emotion, and you get angry for other people getting blessed, like they have blessings and good things happening in their life, and you're getting angry. Like that's something you can feel, and you should be able to cut that off early. And that's definitely like 101, learning how to have gratitude, not only for yourself and everything that you have, even your lack at times, just to be in that position of where you are, walking in the attitude of gratitude, but to be happy and rejoice with others whenever they have achievements and blessings coming in their life as well. That's a big one. Yeah.
And I talk about, if you can get rid of one feeling or one negative emotion, get rid of jealousy. Number one, right? It's you're harming others, you're harming yourself. It's like a two-way negative exchange. So, absolutely. And then on, like you had mentioned, gratitude on the opposite spectrum, right? A two-way positive exchange is gratitude, because you're grateful for what you receive, as well as you're grateful to whoever gave it to you. Mm-hmm. And that, if you practice gratitude, which, I've been in the practice of gratitude, you will see the power, the magic in gratitude. I mean, real magic. You can wake up and the day could be beautiful and sunny, and you can say, I'm so, so grateful for this day. This happened to me. I'm so grateful for this day, and just feeling so grateful. And again, this is before I even knew about the power of gratitude. I just felt grateful. And then the next thing I know, the day was the most fabulous day in terms of my interaction with friends, what happened, and just all the other subsequent events that followed from that morning was fantastic, right? And again, it's like that aha moment. Well, how did this happen? Well, because maybe it was because I was feeling gratitude. And so then I would start to feel grateful for other things. And as I became more grateful for things that I had, I found myself receiving more of what I was grateful for, right? So little things, would come every once in a while, right? We're supposed to learn when we're supposed to learn. And, I was learning about gratitude before I started reading about the power of gratitude. And I was grateful to realize that there was actually something to it.
Mm-hmm. Whenever you're starting with like the power of the mind and learning the power of thought and things like that, and I'm going to say this because a lot of people get into this. I don't know if you have. That's what I want to ask you. Some people get into like psychokinesis, telekinesis, trying to move things with their mind, cloud bursting, which is a practice of like staring at the clouds and concentrating on breaking clouds up just to learn the power of their mind. And some people are having success with this. And I've done it before, like when all this was brand new to me, learning the power of meditation, the third eye, concentration. I spent a lot of time trying that. I don't really do much of that anymore, but I remember of times like wanting it to rain and speaking to the clouds and commanding it to rain and like putting that energy out and just totally focus on it raining, and then it would rain. I got close friends who did it with hail. It started hailing over their house and all types of stuff like that. Did you ever get into that at all, where it was into like some of the physical manifestations of like controlling the weather or moving things with your mind? Did you ever go down that path at all?
I'll say I didn't intentionally go down that path, meaning that I want to sit here and test my superpowers and create create a hailstorm. But I do believe in controlling the weather, that we have the power to do that. And I do have a story in the book about me doing that. And again, it was more, not so much about, I want to test like my superpowers, but I talk about in the book the 4-step process to conscious creation, right? You set an intention that you believe in, right? And you have a positive feeling about it. You set an intention, you feel gratitude for it, you detach from it. And then if you need to take action, you take action. So about a year ago, I went skiing in Park City. And, we planned this whole trip flying from the East Coast to the West Coast to go skiing. For the past few years, I would say 5-6 years, every time we went skiing out West, it was a pretty dry season. And this year, I know my husband was like, why are we spending the money? Why are we going to go out? It's not going to even be good weather. And I'm like, let's just go. So we get into Salt Lake City and we're in the car with the family. It's 60 degrees in Salt Lake City. Okay. So now the mountains are usually cooler, but 60 degrees is kind of warm and it's raining. And even though we knew that rainstorm was going to turn into snow, we were expecting about maybe 3 to 4 inches at the mountain. When we got there, the weather just was not, the perfect ski conditions. But in my mind, at that moment, I said, I'm not letting my external conditions really dictate how I feel. I'm not going to feel disappointed. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to feel any negative emotions. I'm going to picture what I want. And literally within 20 seconds, I pictured amazing conditions, perfect ski, and we were feeling happy, and I let it go. Just let it go, right? And so we got to the mountain, went to bed, woke up the next morning, 18 inches of fresh powder. Okay, we were supposed to get 3 to 4, got 18 inches, and it was the best conditions that they were saying at the mountain that they had in 10 years. And it was amazing. There was no reason for it. And I'm like, okay, see, this is working, right? And then it was predicted that it was going to continue to snow for the week. And after 2 days, even though I was so grateful for the snow, I thought to myself, I just want to get one sunny day before we get home. My iPhone app is not saying it's going to be sunny at all. Didn't matter. I didn't feel disappointed. I said, let me try this again. Literally 20 seconds. Had an intention, visualized it in my head. What would it feel like to be skiing with the sun out, and let it go. And the next day at about 1 p.m., the clouds broke. It was beautiful and sunny. My iPhone said it was cloudy. Yeah. But it was sunny. And yeah, do I believe that I did that? I do. I do believe we have the power to change the weather. And I've had other friends now who've read the book who've come and said the same thing to me. They're like, I believe that too.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's like a universal principle, and you can use it for whatever. Like if you want to use it for creating your career and your life goal and the things that seem so far away, you can. There's practices in meditation, being mindful of the now moment, which is where the power lies in meditation, of just bringing every thought to this now moment is where the power is to create, to make these decisions and things like that, and essentially get a game plan where you kind of push everything out and focus on what you want to do. So that's what's powerful there. Some people can do it with the weather, or like I said, you do it with your finances or whatever, or you could do it just a little bit of everything.
Yeah,
you know
do
what I'm
it
saying?
your whole life.
And just,
do it your whole life. And the key thing here, even because I came from the corporate world, right? And even whether you're in the corporate world or you're an entrepreneur or wherever you are, you have goals, right? They talk about creating goals, which is your vision for your future. It is your intention. Yeah. Now, the way to successfully achieve those goals, even if it is to have a sunny day or for it to be snowing, is to not doubt it. Don't feel doubt. Don't feel disappointment. And I know those are natural feelings that come in, but to consciously create anything you want, any positive thing you want in your life, you have to be in check of your feelings, your emotions and your thoughts. And the moment you're feeling doubt or fear, you have to check that and you have to push that away, because those are going to be barriers to your creation. You were able to change the weather, right? Because you didn't doubt it. You focused and you believed that you were able to do that. You didn't doubt it. And so that's just a quick check for people, is to ask yourself in that moment, how am I feeling? Am I feeling doubt? Am I feeling disappointment? Am I feeling fear? Because those should just be signals that, okay, I need to move out of those feelings. I have to pass through those feelings in order to reach my desire, my goal.
That's the thing where people have to move past, is that fear and faith are in complete odds or opposition with one another, and doubt and worry and unbelief versus faith, hope, and love and charity and those things that we're walking in. And they kind of cancel each other out. You would think that it would be easier and that the faith and like the beautiful stuff would just kind of like prevail over all the bad stuff and the yucky stuff and the self-doubt and depression and loathing and things like that. But they really cancel each other out. And that's why the scriptures are so beautiful for me, because it talks about, Jesus says that as a man thinketh in his heart, so shall he be. And so whatever you're thinking about, which is, the thoughts, your confessions, the stuff you're listening to, the stuff you're entertaining, listening to podcasts like this, listening to, you said you listen to, you read a lot of self-help books. All of that stuff comes into play with retraining your mind and the way you think, so that it's gonna change the way you think. I mean, we can look at so many different examples of people who were raised one type of way, and then they kind of put their foot down and they reworked the way they think, the things that they're entertaining, the life and their pursuits and stuff like that. And they've seen change. I know people who come out of prison who've done this, who've kind of been in that downward spiral their whole life, and then they made those conscious changes and decisions to start, eating better, entertaining healthy thoughts, and getting on a healthy game plan, whether it's, getting into religion. I mean, there's some, there's some religions and stuff out there that helps people find discipline for their life. I mean, that's what it's about. It's about finding a healthy discipline. And so with spirituality, when I mentioned religion, it's not, the key is not religion. The key is not, having a creed or something like that. The key is just taking those principles, because you could be into religion and not have any of these principles that we're talking about, and nothing's going to work for you, just because you're like, you give, you acknowledge a higher power. You have to actually take these steps and these principles and apply them yourself to see this stuff works. And I guarantee you it works. It's universal. It's not like, someone's, more special, or they're selected, or it just happened to work out for them. It's for everybody. I've seen it in my life, and I've seen it in the lives of a lot of other people, and it's beautiful. So what's cool is like you see the little small things working at first, you made it stop raining or whatever, and then this other thing, and then, you're trusted with the little small things, and then you start asking for more. You start believing for more, right? You put the intention out there, and more starts happening. The scripture says, if you're faithful with the few, I'll make you ruler over more. And you start seeing like the little miracles start turning into big miracles and big things in your life, and seeing that platform begin to evolve for you as well. All of that for me is led by the inner intuition, the guidance system, and something called synchronicity. You start seeing numbers, you start hearing phrases, and meeting people in just insane situations that it just like crazy coincidences that almost seem to would have never happened without something, a higher power, God, consciousness, being behind it, guiding your life. What are some of the synchronicities that you've seen that have just kind of blew your mind? Like I said, in the early stages, this stuff is foundational to know that, look, there's something to it. It's not like there's things are coming together, things are happening. What are some of the things you've seen early on with like synchronicities?
Yeah, I would say I experienced a lot of synchronicity in the last couple of years. I mean, for me, I was seeking my purpose, right? And so once you are committed to finding out what you're supposed to be doing and you open yourself up, you will get led there. You just can't give up. It's not going to happen overnight. You can't be you have to be patient. Took some time. And when I, realized, okay, I'm going to be writing a book, and I believed that I could write it, I wrote this book in 2 months. All the words came out in 2 months. I actually saw in my mind, or felt in my mind, what the year would look like, and in my mind, my inner guidance told me 2 months to write it. You need then to go find, an editor, determine how you're going to publish it, build your website, and then the book is going to be out in the fall. I got all of that from my inner guidance, and from, and I could have worried about everything, because everything external, and there was a lot of worries actually, but I had to listen to the words of my book, which is, fear is going to paralyze you, right? These are not the right emotions. You need to stay disciplined and focused, put all your energy into what you want to create, put it into your book, put it into your work. And I had to make a discipline and a practice of keeping my mind focused. And so things like, how my editor came into my life, completely synchronicity. Nothing that I could have ever planned of how she would come in. And she happened to be somebody who wrote spiritual books herself, who was very familiar with the material, so the right person to do that. And many things like that, small things. I was told that, what came up for me a lot was going to Kundalini yoga.
Yeah, that's big.
I went to a Reiki session one day because I figured, why not? I need all the help I can get, like kind of clear out this energy. And I go there and she's like, Kundalini's coming up for you. And I said, I've heard that a couple times. Well, I went home, and I live in New Jersey, and I was Googling Kundalini yoga. You can't find it everywhere. It's not as common as like Hatha yoga. Yeah. And, it just turns out that in my town, that 6 months prior, a Kundalini yoga studio opened up. And that place is phenomenal. I'm there every single day. That community of people are so supportive. And that, again, I said to myself, I completely manifested this. And I tell the owner of the yoga studio, I manifested you, because how did this studio show up out of anywhere, in this town? So things like that. I feel like when you are on your path, right, you're going to be guided, and it's going to feel like everything supports you, like the universe supports you. Yeah. It's like that quote, once you make a decision, the universe conspires to support you. That's true. So there were many little things like that. And you talk about numbers, right? Seeing 1111. For me, the number 14 seems to be a significant number in my life. And I would see that more often. Like, for example, even the yoga studio, you add up the numbers of the street number, and it's 14. And there were things like that kept happening. And, when you open yourself up to it and you become aware, and I look at it as awareness, you see signs, like literal signs. Like, I had a question in my head. Do I go back in and take a finance job, or do I continue down this path? I knew I had a decision to make. And I see a bus come by with a big sign on it that says, pick your path. Yeah. Well, I have people telling me, oh, you can do both. And some people can. That's their path, to do both. I knew that wasn't mine. I had to pick one or the other. Mm-hmm. And I took a picture of the bus, and I think I even posted it. I'm like, when you ask for signs, you ask for help, you're going to see them if you are aware.
There's a sense of responsibility too, man, because you're talking about having this discipline, spiritual discipline, practical things that you can do to achieve your goals, right? You have these goals. I think there's a lot of people out there who want to do something. They want to be an artist. They want to paint pictures. They want to do music. They feel like they have a book within them. They want to write a book as well, and they have everything. They can see it. They can see themselves even doing the book signing, and how it would be to make an income off of that book, or something that they create and bring to the table. But the discipline's not there to actually, because you had the vision, but if you wouldn't have sat down and picked up the pen, or sat at the computer and got ready to type and let your spirit speak and just get all of that out of you, then we wouldn't be having this conversation about your new book. It's something about having those goals and dreams, because everyone has a dream. Even if they've given up on it, at some point they had the dream. They wanted to do something. And there's practical things to do to actually sit down and make it happen. one thing that I talk about a lot is that many people who are in the creative flow, and their mind works with all of these ideas. They want to do a book. I'm in this place. I want to do a book. I want to write a new song. I got a new album. I got a podcast. I got to interview someone. I want to go on somebody else's show and be interviewed. So there's all these things that I do, and I'm focusing on what's working, but it's about staying consistent with the things that you want to manifest, and not get caught up, because there's all other types of ideas that come through. Their dreams, they could work. They are a path that could be manifested, but it's about not getting overwhelmed, especially people who are just really creative and they always got new ideas and new thoughts. So let me do this. I've got so many friends who they don't have the discipline because they want to do this and they start it for a week or two, and then there's a new idea and they start that one for a week or two. They forget about this one. And they're just going back and forth, and all of it's good ideas. All of it could work in the future, but they don't have the discipline to stick with it. Can you relate to that at all?
Yeah.
Where there's
absolutely.
other things and ideas, or let me be a yoga teacher, let me focus on this, or let me write another book, let me open a cafe, a vegan cafe, whatever. Like those type of things that come through. How do we stay consistent with it? Because that's key for me, is consistency right now.
Yeah. I love what you're saying, because as I was in my own journey and my soul, my search for how does the world work? How can I manifest more often? What I try to emphasize in this book is that, manifesting, creating your reality is a discipline and a practice. It is. Because if it was easy, right, then we wouldn't even need to have this dialogue, because everybody would be doing it. Everybody would be creating whatever they wanted, right? But it is critical that we understand that it is a discipline and a practice, and it's very individual in the sense that yourself, and you are the only one who's going to know, how do I discipline myself, right? So for myself, I know what I need every day. Now, I would say foundational, right? Foundational. If I were going to say what I think is the most easy, I don't want to use the word easy, but the most effective and efficient way, right, to create your own reality, I would say, number one, get into a practice of meditation and do it every day. Can you be disciplined enough? Even if it's hard for the first, day, week, month, can you stay in that practice because you are so committed? You are so committed to achieving what you say you want to achieve, right? So your desires have to be so strong that you can master yourself and get rid of anything that's going to distract you. And that's what discipline is all about, right? Discipline isn't an easy thing. Discipline is like literally taking your entire being and saying, I'm focusing it in one direction, and I'm going to do what it takes to get what I want. So yes, it is a discipline. And there are times where, we've all had those experiences of things like getting distracted. Like, what about this? What about that? Maybe I should go into this. And it's almost like your intellect takes over, right? And it's like, well, maybe I don't know if I really want to do that, but that sounds good. That sounds like an opportunity.
It's working for them. If it's working for them, then I can try it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. And that's when it's so important to just go back into a quiet space and go into your own heart and say, is that right for me? Is that going to take me off my path? Is that where I should be going? It's going back and asking yourself, right? Your own higher self, get me back on track. What feels right for me? So that again is where I say, get into that space of meditation, right? And quieting your mind, because you are the only one who knows you.
Yeah. Yep, it works, and that's everybody has to get to that. And I mean, now that I can see it, because it totally happened to me, it still tries to happen. I still want to get into all types of stuff, and but I've been doing this podcast probably since 2010, right? 2009 maybe, and we started out doing podcasts, but it was always an off and on thing. I would do a couple months on, and then sit down for 6 months and not do another one, and then I would book maybe a month or two of shows, and it would get momentum, and then I would quit. I would focus on something else. And this has been off and on for years, until probably almost a year now, maybe 8 months of just being consistent. I'm going to do a show every week, and I'm going to do multiple shows a week, and let me just be consistent. Don't let me do 3 shows and then sit down for 2 months. Like, people are expecting something. People are going to show up as long as you create it. And so it's about getting serious and consciously doing it. And from that point where I've consciously told myself, look, I'm going to show up. This is what I want to do. I'm going to create this. I'm going to create my future through this, a platform that's going to help people, all of this kind of stuff. And I begin to speak that stuff out. I begin to meditate upon it daily. And then it just began to flourish. The numbers, like, I go back and look at my numbers, and it's just like a stairs. It's a ladder. It's going straight up. Every episode, there's more views, there's new people, the supporters who are coming out of the woodwork because people are resonating with it. It's insane. But if I was to stop and leave it and go do something else, which is easy to do, I got to keep reiterating this for everybody, it would probably dwindle down. People would stop supporting. People would stop looking forward to a new episode every week, or 2-3 every week, whatever it is for that particular week, and they would move on to something else. But it's about consistency is the key. And that's my hashtag right now. Whatever it is, man, if you're into music, if you're into writing, finish it. Stick it out until it's done. If you're creating something, and there's nothing like that feeling of creating and bringing something into this realm that didn't exist until you birthed it. There's nothing more fulfilling than that. I think if we're created by a God or creator in that image of a creator, it's essentially us giving the glory back to that divine essence when we are in the same image of a creator, and we create as well. We create the life that we want for ourselves, blessings and all of these beautiful things that are added unto us daily. It's amazing. Before we go, I know we only got a few minutes left, but you're talking about Kundalini yoga. I love when it comes to like having these divine ecstatic encounters, right? Kundalini. I mean, you say that word. I believe in the scriptures, it's called the baptism of the Holy Spirit. The research that I've done Kundalini yoga. I've been in charismatic churches where this intense fire takes over your body, cleans you out, this awesome feeling. And in the midst of that, there's a lot of divine appointments and angelic type encounters. Have you ever had any spiritual encounters with like the other side where I don't know. I mean, I think the possibilities are really endless when we're talking about it. But have you ever had any encounters or anything like that with God or the divine or whatever the case is? I think all of this is an encounter with the divine. Put it that way. Yeah. But anything that like, man, something's coming through and it's changing my life or whatever the case is.
Well, I have to say, I don't know how this book was written. Yeah. Meaning, I do know how this book was written, right? For me, the book in and of itself, for it to have come out in 2 months nonstop, I'm not a writer. The words were speaking to me directly. That to me was and there was a powerful energy with me. I can't deny it. Yeah. There was an energetic force that I felt for the entire 2-month process, and when it was over, that feeling went away to the point where I'm like, I want it back. I felt so powerful with that.
Right? Yeah.
Right. So that to me, I think is the biggest thing in my life. That felt very powerful and very connected to something much bigger than myself. Now, as far as anything else, I mean, I have on my website, when I was going through this period of seeking and what am I supposed to be doing, I did leave my body twice, which was, really fascinating for me. I wish I could, do it on command. But it did happen to me where I felt like I was just being shown that I'm on the right path. There's something much more than this physical world. And it happened when I was sleeping twice in 1 year, where I left my body and I, went to my parents, woke up in my childhood home the first time. And then the second time, went up into space. So those were some crazy, encounters that felt very, very real to me. And that, like I said, I took that as, look, you're on a path, you're going in the right direction. Awesome. Yeah. Those things, I think everything increases when we're on that path. That, the whole synchronicity thing, I would hate to be like
there's this thing about if we should be led by those things like at all times, because sometimes, like you said, that feeling's not always there, you know, and you do have to kind of walk by faith and like know like the principles that are working. And even though you don't feel spiritual all the time, even though you're not being led by, you know, numbers everywhere you go and phrases and stuff, you still know what to do. And it's beautiful when it happens. And one thing that happens for me when I get ready to release an album, you feel that you encounter that euphoria about writing it, and then when it's time to come out, you feel like this is the perfect timing. Like the world needs this. Like when I release this, the people who get this, it's going to change their life, and it's what I need to be doing. So I can really relate to that feeling, that euphoria you feel like when you're writing, and then as time kind of moves on, you're like, I want it to happen again. Or for me, I feel like, man, did I even write that? And like the work is so beautiful. I'm able to, like you, read your own material and benefit from your own work, almost like you didn't write it. Almost that it was channeled, but not in a spooky channeling way. Almost like the inspiration came through you, the essence came through you about what you needed to create. People are asking in the chat. There's some people joining us late. They want to know the name of the book and where they can get it. So if you want to go ahead and share your website and your links where people could check out your work, go ahead and do that.
Yeah, so the book, I'm just going to show it because I think it's a beautiful cover.
That's great.
It's Your Hidden Light. The website is www.yourhiddenlight.com. It's available on Amazon.com and BarnesandNoble.com. Awesome.
You guys make sure you go and check out her work, all of the cool stuff that she has on her website. Check out the book. And I appreciate you coming on, hanging out with me. Let's do it again sometime soon. Yeah,
absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right. You have a good one.
You too.
Thank
you,
friend. All right. Bye-bye. Raana Zia, ladies and gentlemen. I'm big on manifestation. Like I said at the very beginning, like it's about manifesting the life that you want for yourself, creating it, abracadabra. You know, we talk about the magical term, I create as I speak. Whenever the thoughts that we have in our mind, the thoughts and visions we have within our hearts, whenever we speak those things out, if we're just holding these thoughts in, they're just going to be cool ideas. But whenever you begin to speak them out, you begin to confess them, you begin to tell people about them, things start to happen. That's part of the manifestation process. You speak to the things that are not as though they were. That's the definition of faith in the book of Hebrews, man. So being a person of faith, led by the Spirit, all of these things come into play in our day-to-day life, and so these are some of the spiritual principles and things that are tangible. Anyone can do this. Don't give up on your dream, whatever it is, whatever it was. Recapture that dream. Continue confessing it, thinking about it, thinking of creative ways to be an expression of that energy, to manifest it on the earth. And you could do it. Don't give up, man. Too many people have given up, and you only live once, man. You know, so people are scared to fail. People are scared of a lot of people, even here, some friends here, they're scared of what their family's going to think. I had a conversation the other day with a close friend of mine, scared of what his family will think if he starts living his authentic life and being who God created him to be. It's like he's scared that they're talking about him. I'm like, listen, they're talking about you anyway. They're talking down about you. They have judgmental opinions and all that stuff about you anyway. So why not receive the judgmental criticism and people talking down or the naysayers while you're doing what you love to do? Because they're doing it while you just doing what you don't want to be doing. They're talking about you. So why is that holding you back? You can't live for other people's acceptance. If you live for their acceptance, you'll die to their rejection. And so you'll be living to please others. You'll play the role of a hypocrite. The hypocrite is not, I told a friend today, man, I got friends and most of them are like, in Christianity, and we're talking about don't be double-minded. A double-minded man is unstable in all of his ways. Christianity, and a lot of people I know, is breeding double-mindedness because they like music and they have to act like they don't like it. They have to pretend. I have a friend of mine who he's involved in the Christian rap community, and if he posts anything on his Facebook wall, or they hear him listening to any type of alternative music or whatever, if it's not gospel, they put him through the ringer. And he gets depressed and beat up. And I said, look, bro, you're not a hypocrite because you listen to it. You're not a hypocrite because you listen to secular music or you like music that's not gospel. I said, you're a hypocrite when you act like you don't. You're acting like you don't like it. Look, I'm telling you, that's where I found so much freedom when I finally said, look, I like this. And not to be okay with your sin or okay with the bad stuff in your life or whatever. But no, like, it's not, if it's not hurting you, then it's okay. I don't think that all secular music or just because it's not Christian, it's bad or whatever. Yeah, there's a lot of bad music out there. Be careful what you listen to. Listen to TruthSeekah, TruthSeekah.com. I put out music all the time. Check out music that's good for you. But even my music is not quote unquote Christian. There's people who think it is. They listen to it and they can hear the biblical concepts and stuff like that. And some people still think I do Christian music. But being a hypocrite is essentially someone who's playing many roles, someone who is in a play wearing a mask, and essentially the Greeks would have a mask on that they would turn it and there would be a mask on each side, and they were able to play multiple roles in one play. They would turn the mask and then they're the mayor. They turn the mask and then they assume the other role of this other character. And so that's essentially what a hypocrite is wearing a mask, man, and being someone who you aren't. There's things within us, man. There's likes and dislikes, and being authentic to yourself, being true to the person who God created you to be. You guys know, like, my story. I tried to run from this stuff, what I'm doing right now. I tried to paint it in a different light. I tried to act like I didn't like spirituality or meditation or yoga or certain types of music that was more spiritual versus gospel, because I come out of that realm and I was miserable. I would try to act like I didn't like this stuff and go back to the church friends and say, hey, will you guys accept me now? I don't listen to this. I don't promote that. I don't do this. And when I did that, like, some of them would receive me back, but I just felt like a sellout, man. I felt like I had to put on a monkey suit, like I had to go be somebody I wasn't to be accepted by these people, man. And inside, man, you know, I felt bad, and I felt like God was looking at me like, man, what are you doing? Like, I put these desires within you. You like this stuff for a reason. You're interested in these type of topics, and you want to understand the way the universe works for a reason. Don't live for these people's acceptance. Don't do that. And then that was a dark night for me, because I kept going back and forth. I get rid of everything, man. I get rid of anything that wasn't Christian. You know what I'm saying? Like, and there's a lot of I'm not the only one. I know many people who are called to be leaders, and they're on this path, and they're going through the same thing. And that path of you walking in your authentic self is it's a journey, but that's what it's about. It's about being who God created you to be, being confident in that, and walking it out, man. This was such a beautiful episode, man. She talked a little bit about jealousy, and the spirit of jealousy. When we're talking about that, she's talking about, like, you being happy when bad stuff happens to good people or to anybody other than you. Like, you're happy when bad stuff's happening to people. You're happy because you get the one up on somebody because you're jealous of them. I always think that gossip kind of runs in with that spirit of jealousy. When you start talking bad about other people because you're jealous of their platform, and you would rather talk down about them and what they're doing because it essentially puffs you up and puts you on a pedestal, especially when you're talking about people. And I'm saying this is definitely a principle, but I know there's also some wisdom in this about warning people of certain individuals and stuff like that. So there is some grace to it, but overdoing it, man, and like putting down other people so that it makes you feel better. That happens so much within Christendom, and even on the outer fringes of the spiritual movement, you see that happening. One thing I wanted to talk about jealousy too is, like, I had a friend of mine, and I think, this friend, he's definitely what the Bible would call feeble-minded. You know what I'm saying? I think he's got some stuff going on. But I remember he did this thing one time, man. he had a problem with certain ministers that did him wrong in the path, right? Or didn't recognize that greatness within him. He would go to different churches and stuff and be a part of movements, and he would think that they would share their platform with him or whatever the case was. And this guy had a revival, as a preacher, had a revival, and he aired it on Facebook and YouTube or whatever. And there was a video that went viral locally and even worldwide, though. His wife went to the altar for prayer. This is a pastor's wife who had some issue going on with her body, and God healed her. She received a healing at this crusade or whatever, the pastor and his wife. And my friend was watching this, and this talks about the company you keep, man. My friend was watching this, and he got mad that this lady got healed. He got mad that the pastor's wife got healed, so mad that he punched his computer screen and broke it because he was mad that they had a blessing in their life. And man, this is like, this stuff is spiritual. I think that, that's not healthy. That's craziness. That's actually, I don't think that's just like above and beyond for you to be watching something on TV or then, throw your remote at the TV because something happens you don't like, or Trump comes on TV and you throw your remote at the TV versus just changing the channel or something, So, speaking to the jealousy, man, I think if we're not careful, it can happen in any of our in our hearts. But it's a good thing when it happens early, maybe, so that you can feel the feeling when it comes, and like, hey, hold on, why am I'm being a hater right now? I'm being a hater. And you really are. You're happy that that downfall is happening to people. You get upset when good stuff happens. And that energy messes with you. You're not going to be able to have nothing good because your energy is so caught up and focused on negativity or rejoicing when negative things happen to others. Look, negative stuff's going to happen to people. If you do dirt, you're going to get dirt. You reap what you sow. It's universal. Know that. So if you out here doing dirt and doing bad stuff to people, bad stuff's going to come. But the rain falls upon the just and the unjust. And so for you to be happy when bad stuff happens to good people, man, that's demonic essentially, man. You gotta get away from that for real. It's about creating you gotta rejoice, man. And know that your time is coming too. Learn from what they're doing. If blessings are happening to people, man, learn from it. Another thing too, and I'm kind of guilty of this as well, early on, until you can kind of know your motives and stuff. And it's all about the motives of the heart. Nobody can see the motives but God, right? You can go out here and wear a mask. You can talk the good talk and do this and do that. But God weighs the motives and the intentions of the heart. God knows this stuff. The universal power, the great I am, knows everything about you. You can't hide anything from him. So a big mistake that a lot of people make, especially when people have been overlooked, when people have been talked down or cast aside, and I'm speaking to the church because that's my experience. Your experience could be on a corporate level or at a job and being talked about and made fun of on the job or whatever the case is. And so there's this ambition that is created within you sometimes to succeed and make something of yourself, not based upon your following the will of God for your life, but you want to succeed and do good so that you can say, aha, I told you so. Look at me. Y'all talk down about me and said I would never make it. I'll never amount to anything. Now look, I'm somebody. You have to be careful with that because the mind is a powerful tool. You can create whatever you think. You can have whatever you confess. So you can be operating out of hurt and be going down a path that you're not supposed to be on, and you could be successful at it. You could be successful at things that God did not ordain for you to do. You can be successful in relationships that you probably shouldn't be in. You create relationships, and people are left in the wake of those mistakes. People are hurt. I remember, man, I could look back at my life and see the influence that I've had over people over the years. And there's times where I was operating out of hurt, or I was operating out of heartache, or wanted to succeed just to show them that I could, And that's not good. It's not healthy. And you will spend years doing that, creating something that God is not even in, even though it's successful, even though it's doing good. You have these people following you, and you'll be out there doing stuff and creating stuff that you have no business doing. I've definitely been there. I've been in places where I'm just having to find out who God called me to be in different ways that I can walk in my authentic self over the years. This is a process. This is not overnight, guys. All this, everything we're talking about, this is tools, and it could take years. I think that it's a lot faster. It happens a lot faster in people's lives when you can benefit from the wisdom and what's working, and we can share examples and we can share trials and tribulations with you that we went through, so you won't have to take those tests again, or when those tests come up, you know how to respond because you already know the answers. When you feel that judgment in your heart, when you feel jealousy, you'll know, okay, this ain't right, I need to check that. Instead of entertaining it, you'll be led down paths and stuff and be successful doing things that God didn't call you to do. And there's a story in the scriptures just dealing with Jonah, and how Jonah was essentially running from God's call upon his life. He was scared of it. Essentially, he wanted to go down a path that was a little bit more comfortable, something that he thought would be better for himself, but it wasn't God's perfect will for his life. So he's running from God, and he's in things he shouldn't be in. He's doing things that he shouldn't be doing. He's entertaining thoughts and people and situations he shouldn't be entertaining. And so it leads him to a place where all this calamity is coming after him because God's seeking him out. Like he will move heaven and earth to pursue our hearts, and he does that. So Jonah's running from God. He ends up getting on this ship or whatever. And the storms and waves and everything's coming against the ship. God's trying to get Jonah. He said, look, I'm chasing you, man. Quit running from me. You can't run from me. There's nowhere you can go that you can hide from me. You can't hide from me. And so this is what God's saying to many of you guys. And many of you guys have been in the same situation where storms are coming against you, stuff's happening in your life, you're trying to run from God, you're trying to pretend that you're doing the right thing, but you know in your heart that idolatry has sat in, and you have this impure motive about you that you're achieving or you're following after. So storms are coming. You're on this boat, you're in this situation, you shouldn't be there in the first place. Storms happening. These people are on the ship with this person who's running from God. That ship almost sinks and capsizes. They're in a storm. The God created a storm, and the boat is flooding. It's sinking. They're having to throw their own personal belongings off the ship to keep the ship from capsizing. And Jonah comes to it. He said, "Look, man, the reason these storms are coming against you guys is because of me. Throw me off the ship." And then the story goes that Jonah's thrown off the ship, and a whale gets him. He hides in the belly of the whale, or whatever the case is. And then God deals with his idolatry and his ungodly belief system and all that stuff. But the thing about it is, you're thinking about yourself. You're thinking that I can repent. I can just turn back to God at any given moment. And you can. He loves you. He'll accept you back at any given moment. But the people around you, man, the influence that you have is affecting the people around you. The people on that ship that almost died, they had to get rid of things they loved because of you. Their lives were interrupted because you're somewhere you're not supposed to be, running from God. I've been there. I've totally been there. There's people who have been following me for years, and I'm trying to figure out what God wants for me, and then I'm running from God or not wanting to deal with the things in my heart, the hurt and the heartache and stuff. And I'm in places that people follow me because of I have some type of influence. And I've, led them down places that once I repent, I'm back with God. I'm good. These people are still there. These people are still trying to find their belongings that they threw off their boat. They're still looking through the water to find the things that they lost. And trust me, you can repent, you can go back to God, you can do your thing, get restored, and these people are still left in the wake of your mistakes. And that's powerful, man, to know that you're not the only one who is affected by your sin. You're not the only one who's affected by your choices. You think your choices are just between you and God. No, man. What's done in the secret will be brought to the light. I don't care what it is. You have people dealing with pornography addiction, people with secret drug addiction and doing drugs without telling their spouses, and all types of stuff that they're doing in the darkness that they don't want to be brought into the light. And I'm telling you, you have to live in the light, man. The motives of your heart, your intentions, your ambitions, all of it. Walk in the light as he is in the light, man. I look at Lauryn Hill, man, just some years ago, she had this awakening and stuff, and she did this acoustic album, which is powerful, man. Y'all need to listen to the album or watch the DVD and on that Lauryn Hill's Unplugged, MTV Unplugged. Watch the DVD. You can find it on YouTube, but it's so powerful. She just kind of comes to an end of her rope of success and stardom, and she just kind of gives it up or whatever to seek after God, really. And she's talking about living in the light. And like the tabloids and stuff, they always wanted to kind of seek her out and find secret stuff on her so that they can talk about her in the tabloids. Oh, you know, she's with this guy, she's dating this guy, she's doing this, she doesn't like this or whatever. So the tabloids are always trying to find this stuff. So then she found out that when she was living in the light, and she would tell them things or try to leak info. Yeah, I got a new album out. Yeah, I just got married to this guy. They didn't want to touch it. It wasn't controversial or whatever. But eventually she got it to a place of peace, because she found out that, like, as long as I live in the light and I'm not trying to hide anything from anybody, they can't touch me. You know, I'm cool with my flaws. I'm cool with the things that I do good. Like, this is what I do. And the peace that she found in that, and essentially goes back to Jesus, man, living in the light, walking the light as he is in the light, and they can't throw nothing against you, because they don't have anything. What, you've already talked about your downfalls, you already talked about your fears and your failures, and essentially it's a picture of like Eminem in the movie 8 Mile. They're doing a freestyle battle rap at the end, and he's like, he just gives them all. He knows what they're gonna go at. They're gonna go that he's a white boy from the trailer park. His girl's cheating on him. He's got this ain't working out. His mom's on drugs and all this stuff, and he puts it all out there, and he takes all the ammunition away from the accusers, because he's walking in the light. He's cool with his flaws. This is me. It takes all their ammunition away, man. So that's what it's about. It's about just being open with who you are. Don't hide anything from God, because you're gonna be like the Israelites, walking through the desert on something that could take you, what could have took them 40 years, and they were out there for a very long time. And you can have situations going on in your life that could be, you could be in a season that could be up overnight. Overnight it could be done, because you know what you got to do, but you won't do it because of pride. You don't want to apologize. You don't want to say you were wrong or whatever the case is. So it becomes an idol in your heart, and God can't take you any further until you deal with that. And this could last for years, guys. I've dealt with idolatry in my heart for like close to years, like a year before in the past, where like I had something and God wouldn't reveal anything to me, wouldn't speak to me until I dealt with that. And I would still try to go through the motions and do Christianity and go to church and stuff. But I had unconfessed sin, or I had even personal sanctification things going on in my heart that I didn't address. And that's as far as you can go until you deal with that. You can't like wait for God to maybe God to tell you something else, or maybe he'll forget about that conversation we had. Maybe he'll forget about, this or whatever. In my path and many others, it's been music really early on. I've been told to put music down for a certain period of time, and I said, that was a no-no. God gave me music, now you're taking it away. So I went on this thing about music and about that type of situation, and it's not like it's a universal sin or a law that God creates, but it's an inward sanctification. Like, music's not bad. Even the type of music I was listening to, it was Christian music, but it was a certain type, and God wants to take things from us, not to take it so he can be mean, but he wants to refine things within us. He wants to make sure that we don't exalt the things above him, above our relationship, above walking our calling out with him. And so that's what it's about. It's not about him being mean or wanting to take things from you. Everybody has to deal with that. It's inward sanctification. But then again, you have people who go through an inward sanctification process where God tells them, I'll use an example. This is just my past and stuff I've dealt with. But I had a friend, which this was the thing with me, of God, the Holy Spirit tells you, stay away from gospel rap. Don't listen to Christian hard music anymore. I just want you to listen to worship music, spend time with me, leave it alone. And you're like, no, I can do it. But anyway, God would speak to other people and tell them that same thing. You're worshiping this type of music. This music has become idolatry. You're idolizing these rappers or these people in these bands, and you should be idolizing Christ and the work that I'm doing. And so I've had other friends in that same situation. Well, God will tell them to quit listening to Christian rap music. So they go on a tirade and start telling everyone, God says don't listen to Christian rap. Christian rap is this, Christian rap is that. No, God's not telling everybody to quit listening to Christian rap. He's telling you to quit listening to Christian rap because you're holding it above your relationship with him. Like, that's your go-to. You're kind of worshiping Christian rap. That stuff has become an idol for you. And the Christian rap thing is just an example. That it can be anything for anyone. Trust me, like anything in your mind. And so, but if you have that inward struggle going on with God and you have that communication, that's good. He's not done with you. Don't think that he's given up on you. Don't think that it's too late. If that inward struggle exists and you bear witness with what I'm saying, you're on the right path. You're on the right path. So just do what you know you're supposed to do. Give up the things that are killing you. That's what the word repent means, to have a change of mind, have a change of heart. You know, if something's killing you and it's bad for you, man, you need to have a change of heart about it. You need to change your relationship with it. And so those are examples, but it can be anything. Like, it literally can be anything. It can be books, it can be movies, it can be television shows, it could be relationships with people, jobs, dreams, ambitions, anything, man. It could be anything. So do that inward work, man, because that's what this spirituality is about. This is about what we're bringing to the table. So with that, I'm going to say peace and shalom. I really enjoyed this episode. It was good. I love talking about manifestation and bringing something to the table and creating the life that you want for yourself. I'm still in the business of doing that. And I think we all are, put it that way. I don't think you ever arrive and you reach the final destination. I think it's this inward journey that we're all going through. And so there's tools and there's things that help. And meditation, yoga, prayer, music, all of that stuff kind of comes into play with walking a spiritual lifestyle. So make sure you guys are doing the inward work, man. I think that the majority of people know what I'm talking about. And I've noticed that you think that you're the only one going through stuff until you vocalize it. And once you vocalize it, you find out, like, hey, I'm not alone. There's other people having these encounters and stuff as well. And they're going through this inward struggle too. So make sure you're doing the spiritual work. I want to say thank you again to everybody supporting what I do through Patreon. Like I said, I couldn't do this without you. If you want to support, like I said, anywhere from $1 to $5, $10, $25, whatever you can do, man. Anything helps. So head on over to patreon.com/TruthSeekah. You get new music. I got a bunch of new music over there, guys, and I'm excited to get this stuff released out. I've got some new music videos and all kind of stuff. I think I'm going to put out a new music video today that I just got done with. So be looking forward to that. Also, I'm really excited about the School of the Mystics, and we've been meeting probably a month now straight, and it's been good. We've kind of been able to build personal relationships with a lot of people who listen to the show and people who are looking for community. We've been able to build and talk one-on-one. I get to hear your stories and build that way. We've been doing that for several weeks now, but now we just started this course last week about learning to hear the voice of God or the Holy Spirit speaking in your life. Basic principles to basic training for prophetic ministry is the course that we're doing. I enjoyed it, and I'm getting feedback from everybody who was involved. Like, it was pretty powerful. It was simple, but it was powerful how we all was able to come together and learn to step out prophetically in a safe space and learn to hear that voice of God speaking to you about other people. And so it's a safe place where we can come together in activation and in training and in equipping. And I'm excited about it. It's the awesome course that we're doing. And after this past week, man, I'm so elated. So if you missed that one, you become a patron, you get access to that. That's up on Patron as well. So there's a lot of people who aren't able to make it on Thursday nights, so they actually go back and can listen now. So I wasn't recording them, but now that we're doing the courses, I'm recording that. So a lot of people work, a lot of people have kids, and they can't really tune in for that period of time. So essentially, that's a podcast in itself. So if you want to check that out, patreon.com/TruthSeekah. I love each and every one of you guys. If you found this show valuable, man, tell somebody about it. Let somebody know what we're doing over here. With that, again, I'm going to say peace and shalom. We'll do it again soon. Love you guys.
Your will so much higher than mine, so much higher than mine. Your will so much deeper than mine, so much deeper than mine.
Well, that does it for this episode, folks. To hear more episodes of the TruthSeekah podcast, head over to TruthSeekah.com. And if you're wanting to support the show and get rewards, go to our Patreon page at patreon.com/TruthSeekah.